shoes. We are loving my veteran. I want to say good morning. It's super foggy here, so I see a lot of fog behind me. Sorry. Um, just wanted to tell everybody good morning. And we are going to talk this morning about relationships and what about me? It's kind of tough when we sit back and we think about what about us? Where do we as the spouses and partners and caregivers, how do we take care of us? And so, when I did a little research, I found that the number of family members that are committing suicide is increasing based on if your partner or family member has attempted suicide. So if they've either attempted suicide or become successful at suicide, then your chances of feeling that anger and depression skyrocket with just that number. And I found that that was very discouraging, and a huge statistic. When we start to say, how do we help? How do we take care of? What do we do? What can I do to help my veteran? There is so much out there on PTSD. You can find good information, you can find bad information on PTSD out there, but it's always PTSD information on how do I take care of the person with PTSD? What are they going through? What is their what can we do to help them? There's so little out there on what can we do for us? Where are we at in this? So PTSD affects the entire family. It doesn't just affect the veteran. And we find that it is overwhelming that they're like, well, you need to do and you need to do. And when I am on so many of these groups, and we have so many of these people who talk to us and come to us and say, Stacy, this is what we're seeing. This is what is going on here. Let's just be honest and let's just be in each other's shoes because that's what we're about here. It is not easy. It is not easy being that spouse, that partner, that caregiver, that family member. It takes a toll on us, a huge toll on us. And there are things that when you read the research, it's like, well, you don't need to do this and you don't need to do that. But let's be real. We're dealing with mood swings that happen at the drop of a hat sometimes. How do you be normal when things are great one minute and the next minute they're in a mood and they have an attitude and they're in a space. Good morning. They're in a space. How do you live with that constant flipping on and off? That takes a toll on you. The anger. We don't need to live in an angry environment. We don't want to live in an angry environment. But the reality is, when you live with somebody with PTSD, there are moments that there are anger on their part, and that creates anger on our part. So what about us? What about us and how we fit into this whole mix? Then they distance themselves from us. We're there, we're their support structure. When you talk about relationships, we're going to go through this together. Well, how in the hell are you going through it together when they don't talk to you, when they shut off, and when they distance themselves from you? How are you supposed to deal with that? So it just keeps fueling this stuff. Then we have these tasks that come up, and there's this constant state of we ask them to do something, or and it doesn't get done. You know, it's great. Pam, it's fine. I got your applause-ing. It was great. Sorry. But it is we ask them to do something and it doesn't get done, and it's like we're talking to the wall. There's times that I have a better chance of going out and asking the rock in the yard to do something than to get Carl to do something. It's very rare, but it does happen, and it becomes incredibly frustrating from that aspect. We just get overwhelmed in that moment of that. Um, they don't follow through. We're gonna do this. I'm gonna go to counseling. I'm gonna go get help. And they don't. So what happens to us? We feel like we're not worthy of them getting counseling, that they don't feel that we're important enough to go get that help. So now our self-esteem is like in the toilet, and that's just the reality of where we are. That we walk on eggshells so many times because we don't know what's going to trigger them. So you watch your day go on and you're kind of afraid, oh, am I going to tell him this? Or what if I say this? Or, just normal things that happen in a normal relationship, and the bad stuff comes in and you want to discuss it with your spouse. And then we get afraid to say it because we know if we say it, it could put them in that space. And so we're dealing with that, you know, you got to tell me everything. Okay, but when I do, you get in a mood, and I don't want to deal with you breathing heavy or slamming a door or any of the other things that come with this. I mean, we just don't want to do it. So over time it gets really hard to deal with. And then of course, and we've all heard it, the ugly, hurtful, hateful things that come out. It's all your fault that our life is like this. You're the one who's doing this to me. I hate you. I want a divorce. I'm done. You're so dumb. Um, why are you doing this to me? We have to deal with that. So as a response, go back and look at the definition of PTSD. PTSD's definition is a traumatic event or a series of events that you find a lot of times that happen in relationships where there is abuse going on. And I'm not talking about the physical kind here. I'm talking about this mental kind that you don't know is going to happen from one day to the next. So what happens to us? We get angry. We get enraged. We get depressed. We feel like we're not good enough. We have all of these things that happen to us. And then when we do what the books say and what everybody tells us to do, and we start researching PTSD, it's all about how to fix them. Okay, what about me? Where do I fit into this equation? How am I going to get me better? Because if both of you are in a space and both of you are going through this, you're never going to get to that place where you can move forward. And I know that sounds, we're probably all like, oh my gosh, somebody's honest. How are we going to get through that? When you go to, I don't care where you go for support, they're like, well, you need to do this for your veteran. Oh, you do. But what about you? How are you going to overcome these things? The absolute first thing you absolutely positively have to understand is you cannot take it personally. Is that the hardest thing you're ever going to understand or accept? Absolutely. You cannot take this personally. Well, that's easier said than done. And it's in all the written literature. And you're like, well, how the heck are you not supposed to take it personally when you're the one who lives it every single day? How do you not take that personally? You're the one who's there. You're the one who's offering support. You're the one who's doing all the stuff. You're the one who's loving them at their worst. You're the one who's afraid to say stuff. You're the one who picks up the pieces, literally. You're the one who does that. When they get angry and a picture frame gets thrown, you're the one cleaning up the broken picture frame. They're not. So when you think about it from that aspect, how are you not supposed to take it personally? You got to remember, and it's thick skin, and there's only so much thick skin we can have, but it is not them. And what I have found when I start talking to people is, especially people who've been in a relationship with somebody with PTSD for a long time, is they've allowed this behavior, or they haven't had the skills. I won't say allow the behavior. They haven't had the skills because nobody puts it out there. They haven't had the skills with which to deal with it. So PTSD controls everything, and everything is around it, and it has let everything spiral out of control. So how do you, after 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, how do you bring that back, that balance back, and say, this is not going to work any longer? Because we all know that a sudden change to their aspect, a sudden change to that will totally put them off the edge. So how do you get that? It is, in the words of Carl, baby steps. It is little steps that go through this. And self-preservation is got to be our number one thought. Is doing this going to help me preserve who I am? And is it going to require change on your part? Absolutely. Will it elicit change on their part? Absolutely. And that will make the whole thing come together. It is about self-preservation. We cannot sit here and look at the numbers, and they are not even looking at these numbers. The new study started in 2019, was done through the University of Kentucky, is looking at military spouses' suicide rates. They're still not looking at veterans' spouses' suicide rates who are suffering from PTSD. So what they found was is that military spouses are less than the national average of suicide than the general population. Well, that's because in that circumstance, in that situation, a lot of times their husbands are deployed. And so they are the ones that are taking care of the kids in the home front and whatever. And they realize that suicide isn't the way out, because if they would kill themselves, who's going to take care of the children right now? So that kind of strength is there. But they're just starting to look at what happens to the spouses and partners and loved ones and family of the person who commits suicide or has PTSD that we deal with on a daily basis. And those numbers, when they start to come out, are going to be staggering. The depression, the anxiety, the stuff that happens to us, that's all going to come out, and it's going to be staggering. So we are the only people who can start to fix it. There is not the information out there for us. So when we come together as a group, as a community, and we start pulling ourselves together and putting our own information out there as a way to help survive, we're going to get better at what we do. So it is incredibly important that we learn that it's tough. We have to accept, and we have to get ourselves to accept the fact that all of this crap that we go through, if they didn't have PTSD, would be considered at times a mental abuse almost. But when you look at it from a different perspective, and you know I'm about perspective, let's say that your veteran didn't have PTSD, but your veteran had cancer. And he was in an enormous, he or she was in an enormous amount of pain. And he or she was at a moment where they were at their bottom on chemo, and they were vomiting, and they were doing all of this. Would you at that point be the one to help them through that? Would you at that point be the one to help them through the sick at their stomach, the weakness that they can't do, the holding their hand when they go up and down the stairs, the all of those things? Yeah, you would. And if somebody is suffering from a disease, and they're in pain, a lot of times we're like, it's just because it's the pain that's causing this to happen, so I don't take it personally. But because PTSD doesn't always have physical manifestations, we just accept it that it's just the way it is. Then you get these people who are like, well, we can cure it. There is no cure. Let's just be honest. There is control, but there is no cure. They can manage some of the symptoms and the signs, but there is no cure. And there are days that they can manage it and days that they can't. And that's just where we have to learn to accept and move on. And how do we do that? We have to take care of us. I know y'all listen to me say, and all of these things say, take care of yourself first. Take care of yourself first. Well, how the heck are you going to do that? Let's be realistic. You have to take care of yourself first. You have to find something, some place, something that lets you find a moment for you. Remember last week we talked about moments in our lives. There are 24 hours in a day. There are 60 minutes in an hour. There are 60 seconds in a minute. Our good and our peace is managed in moments, not in days or events. So just utilize that theory when you're going forward. We're going to talk all week about tips and suggestions and things to empower us that not only help our veteran, but are going to help us. How do you get through these mood swings? How do you deal with this nonsense? How do you deal with the emotional stuff that you deal with, not only on a daily basis, moment to moment? Good moments, great. Bad moments, we have to deal with. How do you learn to de escalate? How do you put yourself first? I'm sorry, y'all. I have an amazing friend, Jenny Lutz, who I've met through this. And I cannot stress how much what she has said matters. Um, when you want to talk about the effects of how this all plays out for us, her son Johnny came home, suffered horrible PTSD and depression. He actually took his own life. Her younger son found him. So she had this horrible loss with her son and the guilt that she felt for not getting, not noticing, the anger that she felt towards the VA who gave him medicine and not treatment. That would have been enough as a mom to lose your son to just roll over. So what happened as a result of that, she ended up in a horrible state of depression, to the point that she had a plan to take her own life because she had been through this depression. And she snapped out of it and she said, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to find a way to help others, because if I don't, and I don't get out of this depression, then it's just going to cycle through. Well, 18 months after Johnny took his life, his younger brother Justin, who found him, took theirs. And so, um, it's funny. I'm looking at Shauna's message to me about the fact checkers. So she took her own, he took his life. And so here is this lady, this woman, this mother who lost two of her children to side effects of PTSD 1 and then one to the side effect. And she managed to find a way to go on. And she's taken all the negative and turned it into positive so it never had to happen to anybody else. And that's where we have to become. How do you deal with the constant stuff? Not taking it personally. No, that is the toughest thing ever. because I take it personally. I took it personally. I would sit here and say, well, you need to, and you should, and you do. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Does that mean I'm not good enough? Because that's how I took it. That isn't what he was saying. That's how I took it. How often do we as the partners hear them pick a particular when they're in that mood, pick a particular topic and talk it to flipping death? Okay, just saying. Well, 16 days ago and 3 hours and 27 seconds ago, you did this. Okay. And we talked about it, and I'm not doing it anymore. But you did this, and you did this, and you did this. And we talked about it the other day. It's kind of like the song that never ends. They just go on and on and on about the same thing over and over and over again. And so you're super frustrated by this point, like super frustrated. And this is fueling the fire because for the time of their episode, you're hearing this negative over and over and over and over and over again in your head. So now what are you believing? Don't take it personally. Easier said than done. But remember that that is a side effect of the disease. Side effect of the disease. It is not them. It is a side effect. They cannot turn it off. When you get to a point that you're really communicating with your veteran, you will realize they cannot turn it off. They can't stop that at that moment. So you have to get that and understand that moving forward. Don't take it personally. They cannot choose to turn it off. They get stuck in this state of alert. Sorry, my mom's dog is barking. They get stuck in this state of alert and they're stuck there. They cannot turn that off. They're stuck there. They don't just shut it off. So what does it do? It brings you and sucks you right into it. That's where we got to learn to get past some of these things. What tips do we use? How do we self-preservate? We have to learn that helping them helps us. And it's a combination and that balance that works. And that's what helps. Can you shut the door, please? And that's what helps us. Hold on a minute. Hey, babe, will you shut the door, please? Because I'm hearing mom yell at the dog. Thank you. Sorry, y'all. Mom's not used to me doing it. So how do we do this? Find your own buddy. Find your own support structure. Find a positive support structure. I will advise you, I cannot tell you enough. This is from my personal experience, so I can only base life on my experience. Finding a buddy, a partner, a support structure for you is amazing and you need it. I assure you, it is better to find someone, in my experience, that is living with someone with PTSD than not. Because these moments that they have are moments. And so when we vent to other people that don't understand these moments and that they are just moments, then they get the idea that we're living in constant state of physical abuse. They're worried about our own lives and our own safety. They're worried about that we're doing this. And these people who we vent to are going to be our friends or our family. Now they've developed a concept, a preconceived thing of our veterans. So our veteran who already has low self-esteem and low self-value and low self-worth now is feeling judged by who we're venting to. So I encourage you to find a buddy, a partner, a friend, a group that is uplifting and supportive, that when you need them, you can vent to them because we are walking in the same shoes. We get it. We understand it. We understand and we can help each other through this. Look, my first two marriages were not the best. The first one was violently physically abusive. The second one that lasted 28 years was emotionally abusive. So I'm in this relationship with Carl, and y'all know that I adore him and worship everything he does. And he'll tell you he doesn't know why, but I do. When he has his moments, when he has his anger and his rage, initially I was like, trigger physical abuse. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Well, there are moments that they were bad. Never hit me, but there were moments that were bad. When you hit the door and you put a hole in it, it was hard. I was like, oh my gosh, what about me and my own frustrations? And I was flipping out. Then I realized after we learned to communicate, his anger and his rage and his frustration, it gets so out of control sometimes that he has to physically let it out. It was better out on the door than it was on me because remember, people, a lot of these guys learned how to kill people with their hands so they could do whatever to you. So take that and get that. But if I would have told my son, who's in his 30s, that Carl did that, he would have nutted up because his idea would have been, he's doing that to my mama. He wasn't doing that to me. He did it to the door. There's a big difference here. So I encourage you to find that partner that you can talk to, your buddy, to help you get through this, that's going to be the one who gets it. And so when this rage is going on, a lot of these people in these groups are like, he scared me, he did this, he did that, they did this, they did that. It was terrifying. And when you share that with somebody who doesn't get it, now there's that preconceived idea that it happens all the time, and it doesn't. It happens at moments, not on a constant thing. So find that support. That is the number one thing you can do. One, know that it's not personal. It is the disease, and find that support. That's why we are developing communities that support each other. And we're finally getting it to understand it's not just about the veteran. It is the whole of us. The other big key to this is be careful. And I'm not telling you what to do, but be careful because when you find support in people who are negative, negative breeds negativity. Yes, you want to be able to vent. Yes, you want to be able to say, it was a crappy moment. It was a crappy minute in our day. It was a crappy hour. It was a crappy whatever. This, and this happened. I'm so frustrated. I don't know what to do. I'm tired of being tired. I'm tired of feeling like I'm the only one who's going through this. I'm tired of feeling like I'm the one who's doing this. You want somebody at that point who can come in and uplift you and say, I got it. I understand it. It happened to us. But guess what? We worked through it, and this is what we did, and this is what somebody else did, and still love them and still go through it and remind you that it is the illness. But when you get out here and your support becomes, leave him, get away, it's violent, it's angry. Now, I'm not talking about physical abuse. You got physical abuse going on, get out, find someplace safe. I'm a huge advocate of that. But what I'm telling you is, don't buy into all the negative. All that negative does is just bring you down. We are uplifting each other. So I encourage you to find that. I encourage you to find that strength. You guys are so strong. And the thing that amazes me is you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be listening or watching or doing if you didn't have the first chord to the entire key of this. You love your veteran. That's the first key. That's the first success in this. You love your veteran. So now we're going to work together to find ways to show them our love and support and protect ourselves along the way. That's what it's about. It's about that protection of ourselves and of our relationship and of our children, and to move forward and break the stereotypes and find the help that needs to be out here. Because without a voice, we're never going to get it. So again, I cannot thank you enough for being here. We're going to really talk about tomorrow, start delving into tip by tip, things that they go through and things that we can do to protect ourselves and to empower ourselves as we work together on these solutions, and how we can make this work together. Um, I know we're running a little late, so let me just tell you, y'all, huge support out there. We are here. Join the group. You can click on our Facebook page and join the group. Uplifting, positive reinforcement. We're always here for you. Don't forget Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Um, yeah, all right, Leah, I'll answer your question real quick. But what happens when they've made it very clear that they do not want you to be there for them and to help them anymore? That is self-preservation, and that is they don't want to hurt you. And I know that sounds terrible, but you have to remember how hurt they are. Um, and I know it sucks, and it sucks for you and for us because we're the ones who've been there time after time after time after time after time, and they push us out, right? And they're like, I don't want you here anymore. But they love you. And when that relationship started on love, they love you. So PTSD does some horrible things to people. It tears their self-esteem down to no end. And when they see this rage happening and they see the moments and they see you in tears and they see that they can't add up and they feel all of those things, a lot of times when they make it clear to you that they don't want you to be there for them and help them anymore, a lot of times that's because they love you and they know that they're hurting you and they push you out because they feel like that one moment out that you'll get out, you'll move on, and they're going to be okay. Um, Alex has said I could share her story. Alex had something very similar to this happen when her veteran actually was getting out because of PTSD. And they had all these great plans and they had all this great future. And he went home to his home, and she had taken a job that he told her to take. And all of a sudden, it was, I don't want you in my life. And he pushed and pushed and pushed her away. Um, I'm reading your things too. I'm sorry, I'm reading as I'm doing this. So yeah. Um, he does love, and a lot of times, um, Leah, when they do this, it's pushing you away. he said he didn't love you anymore, and he was so unhappy here with your daughter. And now he says he's never told us he was not coming back home, but he did. He's pushing you away to protect you. I'm telling you, I know that sounds terrible, and I know that sounds as a thing, but as you watch this week, Leah, you will find there is so much more than going on than what you think. And what we can do, maybe if you need me, send me a message. We can Zoom if you need to. We can talk one on one if you need to, baby. But we're all here for you. And sometimes space and letting them know that you're here and you're not going anywhere, which is the toughest thing we can do when we're going through all this. There are days that you just want to say, freaking done. I'm checking out. I'm done with you talking to me this way. I'm done with you treating me this way. I'm freaking done. And we feel that way. Biggest thing mistake we make is when we do that. 19 years, wow, baby. Just like I am so here. So just I know you're gonna worry about him every day. And I'm gonna tell you, sometimes that filing for divorce thing, this world right now is tough. And we're seeing those numbers are going up astronomically, babe. Astronomically. So it is very ugly in the way those numbers are going up. And I think a lot of that has to do with the world's events. Because they just feel like they can't protect. So again, Leah, message me in just a minute when I get off of here and we can message or talk or whatever you need to do, babe. And we will help you through this. Can't guarantee we're going to help him come home, but we're going to help you not struggle so much internally because that's what we do. Um, Self-preservation, babe. And I understand completely, get it. So I know this been a little long today. So the rest of this week is going to be all about helping and our coping, how the two combine, and what is really out there for us. There will be all kinds of files coming onto the group, and they will be, baby, I'm so sorry. There will be all kinds of files coming onto the group and all kinds of more support. Again, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. I will get these on YouTube. It's been a long week last week, so there's a lot that still has to go to YouTube. Facebook page, obviously, our website, lovingmyveteran.com. You can follow the blogs there, Walking in My Shoes, and there's so much more to come. We are so excited about where we're going. We are going to be working diligently on creating peer-to-peer support groups and get with some of these other amazing groups, and we're going to create peer-to-peer support groups for families. So, big shout out to our friends at Behind the Service. Shauna's been amazing, and they're always here with us, and they're always supporting us and backing us. And they are so like-minded, where it's about the community, and that's what we want. And they also have Behind the Service podcast is their group. Please join them as well. So if you're not on our group, um, I encourage you to do that. And there's just so much more positive coming forward. And the thing that's so good about this is that it's growing so fast, and we're trying so hard to keep up with what we need to because there's so much that needs to be out there. Again, thank you for being here. I'm Stacy. This is Walking in My Shoes. We are loving my veteran, and I assure you, you are not alone, and you matter to all of us. So have a blessed day. Plenty more coming today. Check the Facebook page, website, and this group. Have a blessed day.